Hi everyone, I'm Dr.Animaction. Welcome to the first episode of the Doctor's Deep Dives, in which I'll be making shorter, bite-sized videos that focus specifically on a single show. Even if it's a franchise that I'm talking about, these videos will only focus on one incarnation. That said, like and subscribe if you love all things animated and animation adjacent, and let's dive right in with my inaugural series, Challenge of the GoBots. Challenge of the GoBots is the story of a war between opposing factions of sentient, transforming robots known as the Guardians and Renegades. Originally organic people called Go-Beings, a cataclysmic event by the first Renegade, known as the Master Renegade, forced the Go-Being survivors to have their consciences placed inside of the shells of the GoBots by Excel, the fabled last engineer. The Guardians are a proud, noble race led by the heroic Leader One and guided by a council of their wisest members. The Renegades, alternatively, are vicious and power-hungry. What starts as a civil war on the planet Gobotron spills over to Earth, where Psykill and his renegade lackeys continue their attempts at conquest, both of Gobotron and of Earth, where the humans and their Guardian allies oppose them every step of the way. The series came to us in 1984 from Hanna-Barbera Productions, based on a transforming robot toy line from toy company Tonka. The first series of that toy line had been released in 1983, and was based itself on characters from a Japanese series called Machine Robo, which also had a toy line, produced by Bandai. Tonka licensed these toys for production and release in the United States, and GoBots hit American toy shelves a year before the Transformers made their first appearance. The original Japanese versions of the Machine Robo line were piloted mecha, and it was Tonka who changed the backstory to make them sentient beings. Hanna-Barbera saw the potential and quickly entered into a deal with Tonka to produce an animated series based on the property, beginning with the successful 5-episode miniseries Battle for Gobotron. The miniseries included every character from the initial toy line, as well as a fleshing out of the cast, no pun intended, with some human supporting characters. A full series order soon followed, leading to GoBots challenging the Transformers on the airways. As Hanna-Barbera went to work on the GoBots, they assigned the role of supervising director to animation veteran Ray Patterson. At the time, Patterson was 73 years old and had been working in animation professionally since 1929 for a broad range of companies like Screen Gems, Disney, and MGM. Patterson contracted out a large portion of the animation work to Taiwanese-American company Cuckoo's Nest Studios. For the soundtrack, the company turned to longtime in-house composer Hoyt Curtin. For the script, Hanna-Barbera reached out to the trio of Alan Burnett, Jeff Siegel, and Tom Ruegger, each of whom would continue very successful careers in animation. Alan Burnett went on to write several episodes of various series in the Disney Afternoon programming block, but perhaps most notably wrote 11 episodes and produced 85 for Batman the Animated Series, continuing to write and produce for nearly every animated series Warner Bros. Produced through 2018. Jeff Siegel wrote for various other Hanna-Barbera series, as well as writing the GoBots feature film, which we'll get to shortly. He also created Exo Squad, which is a personal favorite of mine. Tom Ruegger would spend a few more years writing for various studios, but would eventually move on to create The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo and A Pup Named Scooby-Doo for Hanna-Barbera before transitioning to Warner Bros., where he created Tiny Toon Adventures, Animaniacs, and Hysteria. To bring the GoBots to life, the studio turned to voice director Gordon Hunt, veteran recording director of a large number of other Hanna-Barbera productions since 1974. Hunt was supported by a diverse cast of voice actors, both industry alums and new voices that would go on to expansive careers. This lineup consisted of names like the future voice of Galtar and the Defenders of the Earth's Flash Gordon, Lou Richards Jr., as Leader One, Arthur Burkhart, voice of Destro, Stalker, and Disney villain Pete, as Turbo, and Megatron himself, Frank Welker, as Scooter, rounding out the main trio of Guardians. This trio was soon joined by B.J. Ward of Scarlet, Princess Allura, and many, many more voices fame, who came on board as the character Smallfoot. Opposing them were Bernard Ehrhard, who I recognize as Munkar from the awesome Roger Corman barbarian movie Deathstalker, voicing Psykill, the voice of 1982's Incredible Hulk and Avatar from Ralph Bakshi's Wizards, Bob Holt, as evil Lieutenant Copter, and Dennis the Menace's mom, actress Marilyn Lightstone, as the sadistic Crasher. The humans on the series included the voice talents of the Herculoids Dorno and Richie Rich himself, Sparky Marcus, as Nick Burns, and every Trekkie's favorite shapeshifter Odo, Renee Auberjonois as the mad scientist Dr. Braxis. The 5-part miniseries Battle for Gobotron aired in syndication from October 29th to November 2nd of 1984, with the regular series premiering as part of the Funtastic World of Hanna-Barbera on September 16th of the following year. An additional 60 episodes aired as part of the weekday programming block through December 13, 1985, which marked the end of the Challenge of the GoBots' initial run as the series failed to get renewed for a second season. This wasn't the end of the GoBots in America, though, as the property would get a full-length feature film which debuted theatrically on March 21, 1986, with GoBots, Battle of the Rock Lords. The film brought back all of the original cast and production crew, as well as adding the voice talents of Telly Savalas, Margot Kidder, and Robbie McDowell. However, it did not do well at the box office and failed to reignite interest in the franchise. The GoBots got a minor resurgence later in the decade when reruns of the original series aired as part of the USA Cartoon Express block, but no new entries in the GoBots universe followed. The series tried its luck outside of the US as well, being exported to several other countries including Argentina, Australia, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, and the UK. The show maintained the GoBots name in most of these other countries, except Australia, where it was retitled to Challenge of the Machine Men to capitalize on a successful regional toy line. And although the series never aired in Japan, it did inspire the creation of a different animated series based on its original source concept with Machine Robo, Revenge of Kronos, which ran for 47 episodes from July 3, 1986 to May 28, 1987 on TV Tokyo. GoBots was perhaps most successful in France, though, where not only was the original series very well received, but the Japanese Machine Robo series was adapted as a semi-sequel called Revenge of the GoBots, giving them a second season that we never got here. Along with the rather extensive toy line, the series also received a video game, also called Challenge of the GoBots, for Commodore 64, Amstrad CPC, and ZX Spectrum, as well as several other pieces of tie-in merchandise. In quite the ironic twist, the legacy of the GoBots has become intrinsically intertwined with that of the Transformers, as Hasbro acquired the entire intellectual property as part of their 1991 acquisition of Tonka. Since that point, the storyline has been adjusted to make Gobotron and its inhabitants an alternate reality in the Transformers universe. However, the legacy of the toys ended with Tonka, as the rights to the action figures and their likenesses were not part of the buyout and instead reverted back to Bandai. Little has been seen of the GoBots outside of their place in the 80s, other than a 5-issue comic series from IDW Publishing in 2018. But that's it. A quick shot deep dive of Challenge of the GoBots and the story behind it. If you don't mind, let me know what you all think of this format and the scope and depth of the information, and if it gets a decent reaction from you all, I'll probably look at adding it to my weekly lineup as something under a half hour for everyone to watch, as all of my other series are getting a little longer every week. Either way, thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay tuned, as in cartoons. Later.